Hey everyone, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, and I'm very pleased to welcome back to the show very special guest. He's been on before, the author of this awesome book, Van Halen Rising. Also, Ted Templeman, Producer's Life and Music, and he even was kind enough to lend a forward to this book here
There you go.
by
There's the
some
one.
by some guy. Mr. Greg Renoff. How you doing, Greg?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for that nice introduction. I'm glad to be here with you.
We're here to talk about the latest release and actually something that the first, other than the song that Sammy Hagar did with Joe Bonamassa, the first thing to come out that is not in my book because it didn't exist at the
Right.
time. This is the
Well, we need the revised editions pronto. Better start start typing.
I've been thinking about it. Sammy Hagar and the Best of All Worlds band, The Residency, of course. This was recorded at Dolby Live at Park MGM in Las Vegas. Um, Greg, did you see any of the Best of All Worlds tour? Because I didn't.
I did. I saw them when they came through. I guess it was not this past summer, or it was the summer before. They came through Arkansas, and it was a fantastic show. The sound was great. It was a really, really warm night, uh, and it was one of those shows that I think Sammy talked about that he would come off stage and put like bags of ice on his shoulders, and he was just kind of really feeling the effects of the heat because it was so warm. But it was really a very moving performance. I had not, there had not been anything that I had seen as Van Halen centric since Eddie had died than that show, and to hear those songs and they did a little bit of video clips of Ed. Nothing too heavy-handed, but they showed him on screen a couple of times, and yeah, it was an emotional. It was an emotional night for me, and I thought the thing that really struck me most of all was that Satriani came out and he did justice to all the songs. I thought he's Joe Satriani. He played them all great, but I really kind of respected the fact that, and not that I expected anything differently, that he really did go for just his twist on Van Halen, right? He did all the riffs and everything, but something like Summer Nights, and there were a couple of other. It's a couple of years ago now since I saw that show, obviously, and it's not as clear in my memory as it was the days after that. But there were a number, maybe Pound Cake and a couple of other songs that I really, he kind of gave that Joe flavor all the way through, which I really, really respected. And I left there thinking that sad that Ed is gone, sad that Van Halen is over, and just, I generally appreciative, and I always want to be aware of the fact that there are some folks out there who say, well, it's a cash grab for Sammy, and I always think to myself, man, it's quite wealthy. Uh, if he wanted to grab cash, I'm sure he'd make more money if he spent his days thinking up new ways to come up with new liquors or new products related to his beverage ventures, which I suspect make him quite a bit more money than he does doing music. That he does this because he enjoys playing music and he enjoys being on stage and he enjoys playing the songs. And so, I respect him for that. And I was happy to see that show, and hopefully we'll catch another one if they ever. I don't know if they'll ever tour again. We can talk about that, but meaning tour like make the rounds anymore. But if I ever end up in Vegas or another place, I'd like to see them again.
Yeah, I mean, what concert by a veteran rock band isn't a cash grab? That that's the name of the they wouldn't do it for
Right.
it's like you said, would you do it for free? Well, no. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, and thankfully, um, I'm content, just sitting back and letting other people enjoy. But I've talked to a lot of friends of mine online that have scored tickets to Rush, and those tickets aren't cheap.
No.
You know, they're not cheap at all. So, I mean, you either go or you don't. I mean, but I mean, people, the thing is with Sammy, the haters are going to be there,
Hmm.
but I think there's more fans that are going to be there. And yeah, with obviously, yeah, this is, we should talk about it for those that don't know. I mean, the personnel, obviously you've got Sammy and Mike. I mean, so you've got, half of the the Hagar era lineup of Van Halen, but you've got Joe Satriani on guitar and Kenny Aronoff on drums. So if we want to stop right there, we've essentially got Chickenfoot Mark II.
Hmm.
That's kind of another story. But they've also got Ray Thistlethwaite on keyboards and background vocals, which was a smart move.
Yeah, he did a lot on
Yeah,
he was there that night. Obviously, I saw him in Arkansas, and he brought a lot to the table with his vocals and was I think an important addition. I mean, I really think he he kind of sang that those other parts that Ed would have sang, or and so Mike could sing and Ed and Ray sang together, and yeah, and obviously I'm a keyboard on stage guy. I mean, I know there's people like, oh, behind the curtain, the samples, all that, it's just to me, it's tedious to have somebody, in the shadows. And I thought it was great. I mean, I thought it was all good, and he did a great job. He's a pro.
yeah. Or somebody, in the shadows, or just piped in. Because I mean,
Right.
Sammy did that for years with like Right Now, and it was really good to have live keyboards.
Yeah.
That
I mean, I
you could
think
tell it wasn't just the recording coming through. I mean,
correct.
that's for one thing, I've always wondered how he was able to do that. You know
Like,
what I mean? Have
yeah.
Eddie's, but anyway, maybe he had Jesse Harms redo it. I don't know, but it's nice to have it actually played. And further to that, um, the set list is, I mean, for the most part, I'm pleased with the songs that are on here, but I'm a little surprised at some of the songs that aren't. We can talk about that, but um, Eagles Fly, I could take or leave, to be quite honest with you, but I am glad that the version that's on this live album, they actually did it like it's on the studio album from
Right.
'87. It wasn't just Sammy doing it acoustically. So I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. They did it. They went back to doing the original studio version because I think Sammy always just did that on acoustic with Van Halen.
Hmm. Yeah, that's that is funny you mentioned the Take It or Leave It. That to me is kind of a very sentimental song for me. That's was my freshman year in college, and that was the OU812 and that album, the solo record were kind of on constant rotation that year, 88, 80,
Oh, I don't
that whole
yeah,
yeah,
I don't dislike it.
right.
It's just that if I was writing the set list, that would I would keep
Sure.
it going with more up-tempo songs. But yeah, no, it's very
Sure, and
well
I,
done.
look, it's also a kind of an embarrassment of riches where you have that same problem that every band of this vintage does that has a huge catalog. It's like, what do you add? What do you leave out? What I was going to pivot to on that topic is actually the song that I was sort of like, was Panama. I didn't really kind of, I mean, obviously I'm a guy who loves the song Panama, and I'm a guy who fell in love with Van Halen first through the David Lee Roth era, so I'm not, never going to say no to Panama, but I was just, for me, it was kind of a song that doesn't really feel to me like a on brand for Sammy. And I actually on X Twitter, I had a big debate about this the night of the show, and I was kind of going back with some people who were it was interesting. Like people were like really like enjoyed it and liked it and felt like I had it wrong. I was basically like why I get Jump, like, and I kind of understand Jump, but like sort of to me, Panama is such a Roth branded song, and for some whatever reason, I don't know. And then the other thing that was kind of odd to me was that they showed the Panama car on the screen. And again, it's my like people are like, you're nitpicking, you're overthinking it, but they were showing I'm like, you're showing Roth's
Yeah,
Panama
yeah.
car on the to me again, it was just whoever did the graphics for the show on the screens, whatever. It probably wasn't worth all the time I gave to it, but I sort of was like
Well,
it felt like a bum note there to have that up there to be like, David, it's like David the Ross car. And I wasn't like trying to say like, oh, Sammy hates Roth or whatever, but it just seemed like, I don't know, just there's other ways to kind of skin the cat when it comes to Roth era Van Halen and then to go after that, but that was
I
just me.
think I think that's kind of the blessing and the curse that we have of being such big fans.
Right,
Like, we just in a second you're like, that's not right. That's from that's the wrong era, or
right,
but they always did. I mean, even on Live Without a Net, they did Panama. It was one of the
right,
few.
right,
Um, and it's funny because I do like the fact that they had Mikey singing "Ain't Talking About Love." I see. Yeah, I think I think they should have done more of that. Like they should have had, instead of Panama, have Mike sing "Somebody Get Me a Doctor."
right,
There's
right,
just as many diehard Van Halen fans would know that song as know Panama. I don't
right.
think it's about playing the hits, or for that matter, they could come out and do you know Van Halen. In the Roth days, you could almost just do covers that they did. You could go out and do, You Really Got Me and
Right.
Pretty Woman, and you'd be covering the Roth era of Van Halen, but you wouldn't be doing his songs because you're right. I mean, most of those songs, they're so very Dave, right? And I've
Right.
never, I've never thought that Sammy sounded comfortable singing them. Can he sing them? Yes, he could sing them, but it's just the ad libs and those things that Dave just I mean, Sammy's got his ad libs too, and it would sound funny if anybody else was trying to cop
Of course.
those.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And that's my, and like, and again, like, I think back to the, we're old enough to remember the 80s and the tours with Hagar. You really got me. Maybe that would have been the thing to do instead. And again, that was just like that was my one thing that I just felt like that was like it felt like a miss to me. Like I was like, why are they putting the Panama red car Roth? That's Roth's car. It's like doesn't see, and again, that may have been just the decision of somebody doing the graphics, but I would have just been like, no, that's like I don't know,
yeah,
I wasn't like
no,
I wasn't like offensive. I just felt like it was like off brand for Sammy. Like
yeah,
why are you doing this basically?
you couldn't help but notice it, right? It
Right.
was some, and of course, the whole thing starts off with this song, Encore, Thank You, Good Night, because I bought the single. That means I got the shirt too.
How about that? Yeah.
Uh, that seems to be the way it's going now. But one of my, it's not a complaint, but I'm so old school when it comes to I've always been sort of peeved at these standalone songs that get released. And Sammy's done this a few times, but I kind of wish they'd have stuck the studio version of that on the end of this thing.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah, that seems like yeah, I don't know how the vinyl sequence came out, and obviously if they were at the max with the sides in terms of time, maybe that was. But yeah, that seems to be a miss. I mean, there's a whole nother topic about the Van Halen box sets that have, well, the deluxe editions about what's been left off. I mean, there's a whole
yeah,
nother topic. Yeah, I mean, that seems to be something that you'd want to put on the record. I don't know why that wasn't done. And, on that topic, I felt like the video, I was a little bit,
I
yeah,
watched I watched it once. Videos don't It's funny, man. I mean, I'm old enough. I mean, you grew up with MTV, so I'm in Canada. I grew up with much music, and videos were everything
right,
because you didn't have instant access to
right,
seeing these bands and what they look like.
right,
Nowadays, I might watch a new video and I might not. They really don't mean anything anymore. They
right.
used to be all important, and I watched it to get this, to hear the song, and it was like, it wasn't.
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean, for me, it was the reenactment of Ed, like the sort of him from the back, like the Ed stand in. I was a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, again, I understand what Sammy was trying to do. He was trying to recreate the dream that he had, but I probably would have shied away from that. It just seems to be like, I don't know, but
There,
that's just me. That's what I'm here
yeah,
to do.
no,
Is just to
but
critique shit.
no, I understand. I understand. But I
I
do
mean, it
like,
wasn't like, again, don't get me wrong. I wasn't like the game was like some sort of like mortal sin, like, oh my gosh, how offensive is this? But it was just
right.
sort of like, I was like, yeah, it's probably not in the,
Probably
yeah,
sounded better on paper than it did.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
exactly right. I think the execution wasn't quite,
Um,
it just never comes out. If somebody's passed away, you don't want to show them like somebody looks like them from behind walking through like walking towards a light at the end of the tunnel or like they're going to, you just don't, just let's not, there's enough
no,
AI, that
no,
bullshit out there.
just yeah, exactly. Oh, so much of that. If
Like,
Sammy's
oh,
the Vic,
here
it's
comes ex dead,
yeah.
musician, coming into heaven to be greeted by like all the
Oh,
by Jimi Hendrix. Like it's like, oh,
I hate it so much. I hate it
it's
so
so
much.
gross.
Yeah, it's very offensive. I am glad that because I know, reading the Blabbermouth when the song first came out by itself, the encore song. I'm glad it's credited to Sammy and Joe, and it's not credited to Eddie the way that Sammy had talked about.
You know what? Like you say that, I kind of forgot that, but that same thought crossed my mind when I heard that. I was like,
I mean, obviously, I wrote a book about the guy and his music. I'm a huge Sammy
of
fan, and
course,
and
right?
everything he's done.
Yeah,
But when he says things like that, I feel like, if I could tap him on the shoulder, said, Sam, this is why these people over here hate you. No matter what you do,
right,
you just
right,
keep stepping in it.
right.
But I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything fake about it. I think he's very sincere in what he does. Like the
Yeah, I
stage.
actually, to be clear, I mean, like, I know some people are like, oh, he whatever. Like, I'm sure he had a dream, and I'm sure this was all like flowed through him
Well, how
creatively
many
and stuff like that.
people, yeah,
100%.
how many people haven't, you work with somebody for years and you for the
Yeah,
most part, you're friends with them, they pass away, you're going to have dreams about them.
sure, of course. And I
It's
think
it,
that's yeah. I think that was
but
totally legitimate, and it's just yeah. And to get back to I'll say I'm going to get back to the music, because otherwise I'll just keep talking about tangential stuff. It's just I
mm,
thought the song was good. I liked the song, and I thought,
yeah, it's a good song. It's great.
it's a good song, and uh, you know, the issue with doing a live album like this for me, it's like it's great, it's enjoyable. You wonder if it's just sort of a sense that they're not going to want to make new music anymore. And I get that. Like I know about, Sammy's talked about how like this is like probably 10 years ago that, you know, the Chicken Folk albums, like, they're money losers, right? You're not making any money. You're actually losing money to make a good sounding studio record. They're not, these guys are not going to go like Zoom their music, go, meet
Yeah,
over Zoom and then like send files to each other and like overdub. They're going to go, get in a room and actually,
they're gonna, yeah, otherwise
right.
it's not gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like but I would love to see them do some, I love hearing Mike and Sammy and those guys just, kind of come up with some new stuff. And again, we all understand that it's never going to be as accepted as stuff that they did 30 years ago, and it's never going to be as
Yeah.
played as much. But just for the sake of, kind of keeping the creative train rolling down the tracks. I mean, to me, it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's like a live album like this, it's like what then now what, right? So, but I'm sure they have a plan.
I would
I'm
love to
sure they
hear,
do.
yeah, I would love to hear this lineup record. Um, like I said, it's essentially Chickenfoot,
Right.
because Kenny did the tour for the second album. I mean,
So, how did you feel about the Bonham
well, that yeah,
departure?
that was kind of I read like you read these things and there's it always blows up into more than it is, and that's exactly what I think. I think it's more than it was. I mean, Jason was fantastic. I think he's great on those two, the Space Between and the Crazy Times album. I mean, you know, Jason Bonham, Chad Smith, Kenny Aronoff, they're all great. Um, I mean, I don't really, to this day, I couldn't tell you exactly what the story was. I know what people say the story is, but I don't know.
The night I saw him, I saw that Hagar. Sammy mentioned that uh, Jason's mother was ill, but he decided to stay here with us, and kind of he went over and gave him a hug, and you could see Jason looked a little bit like glassy eyed, like emotional, like his face was emotional and that. So they did kind of, and I think I don't remember if there was one more show or two, whatever it was, but it was soon after that he went. I think he went home to be with his mother. I think that's right. I don't think he finished. I think he missed shows, right? Because Aronoff came in and like, as Kenny Aronoff does, in like 4 hours and learned like all the songs and
Yeah, yeah,
Kenny,
yeah,
can you be here in an hour and
yeah,
play those? Sure, no
yeah. He's
problem,
a
I'll do it.
machine. Yeah, yeah.
So, but that was definitely percolating that summer. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think it seemed like Jason took it harder than maybe Sammy thought he would. I don't know. It seemed like that.
It seemed like, yeah, to Sammy, it was a business decision,
Right,
definitely not personal, but the show had to keep going, and he had to know that, he had a drummer that's gonna do it night after
right,
night. Um, yeah, I never looked at it as anything more than, well, it's sad that this happened, but the tour's booked. I mean,
right,
what people don't understand, I think, especially now, if a tour is booked in 2024, you can bet that was being negotiated at least 2 years previous. Like, a lot of times the artists are paid and you- all of that,
right,
all of the parking and the merch, and it's all it's all pre-arranged kind of thing. By the time the band shows up, it's like that's just the fulfilling their end of the deal. But you can't just not do the shows if you can at all
right,
avoid it.
right,
So yeah, actually, to be honest with you, I kind of forgot about that that it started with Jason.
right,
Because Kenny, I mean, he just fits. I mean, he's been playing with Satch, as has Ray. I think Ray was
right. Ray was, I
so
believe Ray came
yeah.
with Satch, right,
And that's another thing that I want to talk about is Satch playing the guitar on this tour. I mean, everybody will say, well, yeah, it's Joe Satriani, he can do it, but it's not that easy. he's Joe Satriani, and he's got his own sound, and he has had his own sound, and he picks up a guitar and he plays the way he's going to play. So for him to all of a sudden have to learn the way that Eddie put these songs together and not only learn them, but pick his spots where he can be himself. I think he
Right.
walked that line really nicely
Yeah, I
between,
agree.
yeah, I mean, he's playing Eddie's parts, he's playing the riffs properly, he's not doing, crazy improvisational versions of them. Like, um, I, there's not many people I think that could have done that. Like obviously we're talking about the same sort of family of guitar players. I love Steve Vai. I don't know how Steve Vai would have done this
Hmm.
because Steve is so very Steve, you know what I mean? Like it would be so easy for him to just go off the way he does.
Right.
Um,
Right. And I
I think
think,
some, but Joe was a chameleon enough to be able to, and the thing is, Joe is a guitar player that came up like he and Eddie were like not the same age, but well, actually, yeah, they are around the same age. So Joe was not influenced by Eddie. He
right.
liked him, but he was already doing his thing by the time Eddie came along. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like it's not like, oh, I've been listening to Van Halen all my life. It's no, not really. I was doing
Yeah,
my
no,
own
serving the,
thing
I
when
mean, there
Van
were
Halen's first.
obviously, there may be, threads there, but yeah, it was never, you listen to Surfing with the Alien, I never got, you never got the impression like this guy's ripping off Van Halen. I think the thing too is that what people maybe miss and forget is that, part of what allows you to get gigs like this is that not only are you talented and you have a name and a brand, but also that you're a person that gets along with other people. I mean, that's the thing. Like all of these guys are guys who can get along with other people. And you put them together in a band. Like Sammy wants to play with these guys because he gets along with them because he likes them,
Yeah,
right? It's like there are tons of guys who could have played that gig. And I'm not going to mention any names, so I don't want to cast aspersions on anybody to say that they wouldn't have been a good guy or whatever. But there were like obviously there are tons of guys who could have effectively done that well. And but Sammy and Joe are friends, right?
yeah,
And they played together in previous incarnations, and just can go through all the other stuff. We can go down the list
yeah.
of all the different other stuff. It's like you want to play music with your friends, and it turns out that he's got like super talented friends. So I think yeah. I mean, there was probably like a short list of like two people who would have been. I don't know who the other person would have been, but I assume it was like Joe. And if Joe says no, there's like one other person I'm going to ask to do this. And really, it had to be especially because. I mean, Sammy built up the branding so much at the beginning. It's interesting. He sort of seems like he downplayed the branding as time went on, or it became, or either that, or just became kind of a hollow statement over after a while. Like, oh yeah, we're paying tribute to the Van Halen years or whatever, which is fine. But really, I mean, out of the gate, it was pretty heavy-handed with the Van Halen stuff. And once you set it up like that, obviously you end up with very few guys who probably can do it and not just look like clones, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's like we've already both said that like he was able to do it and do it effectively and do the songs where they're great without anyone coming away going, yeah, that's just a carbon copy of Van Halen, because there are tons of
Yeah.
guys who can do that.
On the other hand, he didn't do them so much his own style that people are like, I don't know, it didn't sound right. I couldn't tell you
Right. There
why, but it
were,
just
yeah, I
didn't sound
mean,
right.
like the Summer Nights thing, and there was a couple other things, but I try to remember I can't remember what song it was. I remember standing there in the shed out there in Arkansas. I'm thinking like, man, that's just like dead on the right way to do it. It's like Joe, but it's like Van Halen.
I
So
thought 5150 was fantastic.
yeah, it
Like
may have
with
been Pound Cake was the one where he did the kind
Pound
of the outro solo on Pound Cake, where I was like, wow, this is really he's just got his own twist on this, and it's really just hitting right. I I I think to me. I really don't know. I mean, there are other guys who could have done. I really don't know who effectively could have done that. Has done it as well as Joe did it. And I also think it's interesting that both Alex and Sam, like Alex wanted to do it with Joe, which is interesting to me that he wanted to do it with Joe. Not because Joe isn't a pro and Joe isn't great, but they didn't have a previous relationship, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Like it's
yeah.
like, and maybe Alex honestly didn't know who to. I'm trying to say, maybe. Alex's list of like guitar players who could like do justice to my brother's guitar playing was not as long, in his mind. And it was like, okay, there's like, and again, I'm sure Joe came recommended as number one by everybody. So I'm not saying it was all the wrong choice, but it was interesting. There was not somebody who maybe you could have said, oh, well, Eddie was friends with like, Eddie and Joe were obviously not like close friends. Like
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like Dweezil Zappa could have done it, obviously,
Well, I
and he
was
could
going to
have done it
say
well.
Dweezil
Right, sure.
Or
We could
Steve
go to
Lukather
sure, right,
or yeah.
exactly. Exactly. We go down this list of guys
Yeah.
who may have had had a relationship with Alex and that he could have. But it's interesting both that, both Alex and Sammy both thought that Joe was the right guy. So far be it from anybody
Well,
to feel.
Joe, I mean,
Yeah.
Joe's not a guy that you ever hear of anybody having issues with.
Oh
Like
no.
I've never read of any like former
No.
members or producers that have worked with him that he's left a bad taste in their mouth. He just seems like a guy that is easy to get along with and also happens to be very talented.
Yeah,
To
I
that
think
to
it's
Go
no,
ahead.
sorry, just gonna say, yeah, it's just that's why this thing feels like it could go as long as it's gonna go because those guys do get along, right? I mean, again,
Yeah.
barring God forbid, some illness or something else weird happening, it's like it's just could keep going because yeah, I'm sure it feels easy, I would suspect, to those guys
Yeah,
because they get along.
it's not, the 2 hours on stage is great. The rest of the time is just horrible
Right,
getting from place to
exactly,
place. I mean,
exactly, exactly.
anything you ever read about,
The
that
Eagles,
2000, well, the Eagles or that 2004 Van Halen tour
uh, or,
where Sammy and Mike are here and the brothers are over there and
right, or the later tours with Roth. I mean, the final
yeah.
tours with Roth where Roth was on his bus. They came to the bus. They knocked on the door, and it was basically like that was the 5 minute warning. And Roth walked on stage, did his thing, and walked off stage back to the bus and didn't go to
Yeah.
the backstage. I
Yeah,
mean, that's what.
this is not that.
Right,
This is guys that genuinely enjoy playing together.
right.
I like the fact and there are some songs that I'm surprised didn't make the list, the final album. And one I figured for sure would be on there was Satch Boogie. I was
Hmm.
really glad that they gave Joe his own spot to do one of his songs, but I'm also surprised it's not on this album.
Yeah, I think the thing to me is like it's such a good fit with the Van Halen stuff anyway. Like it is
Oh,
kind of
totally.
surprising
Like
to me. Like
it's got that Van Halen shuffle. I mean, they could have mixed that with they could have gone from I don't know, just off the top of my head, they could have gone from Sinner's Swing into Satch
I
Boogie
actually
or
remember now that I remember thinking about the show I saw, I actually remember now thinking like they're going to do it. I thought for sure. I was like, oh, for sure they're going to do that, right? Yeah,
Ice
that would
Cream
be.
Man. That would have been the right tempo
Yeah, and
to transition,
look, and
but
I mean, I know Joe's not a, Joe's not a singer, but it would have been for them. They could do Big Bad Moon
Big
too, like,
Bad
and that
Moon. Yeah,
would
that
be
would be
great, which would be
yeah.
really, maybe that's one where Sammy can like rest his voice and they could go off. They could have like a lot of fun with that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a fun song.
Well, just like how Mikey singing Ain't Talking About Love gave Sammy a break.
Right,
I mean,
right.
yeah, if Joe had gone, I mean, I don't know how. Yeah, Joe doesn't tend to do a lot of singing even on his albums anymore. But yeah,
Right. And
that would have
that
been
to
a
me
lot
almost
of
felt a little
fun.
bit tongue in cheek. Like that one felt like a little bit like he was like, having a little like even when it came out, like I felt
Well,
like that was a little bit tongue in cheek.
he was channeling his inner Billy Gibbons
Yeah, right, right. That's what I
or
meant. Like it
Sam
was
could have played harmonica on it or
right. I
something
always felt like that was
or
kind of meant to be like, yeah, and
yeah.
that could be, maybe they would do something like that because that's a great song. And they could do, I mean, obviously they could do summer song. There's a whole host of
Oh, Summer Song. Yeah, yeah.
Satriani songs that they could slip in, which I personally would think would. I know it's Sammy's show. I mean, the thing is, there's probably a couple of songs that I would like. I probably like go. Say we could probably scratch Mas Tequila and give me like Summer Song.
Right.
That's just
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah. I'm a
right.
little surprised that Dreams isn't on the because that's such
I
a special song for Sammy.
I think
Maybe it's too
I,
high.
the vocal. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
I think
Now
that's what I recall is that it's a vocal thing for him. It's like too he can't hit
yeah,
the notes anymore, and it just doesn't sound right. Um,
to tune it down.
yeah, I mean, I think.
There's a little bit of down tuning, but not much, like maybe a half step on some of the songs, but
Yeah, I think
not
it's
so much
not.
that it doesn't sound like the same song
No,
anymore.
it's not offensive, and I think that I mean this, and I think it's become kind of a with in-ear monitors now, and just the way that amplification does. I mean, people don't even half these guys don't even use real amps anymore. They're using virtual stuff. It's the sound was great. I mean, I think that's kind of a given now when you see shows really. Like if you hear like bad sound at a show, it's kind of bizarre to hear like, oh, like there's feedback or there's something going on. It's something has really gone
Almost like
off.
it should never ever happen.
Right. And so like the
Yeah,
sound was great outdoors. The sound was really, really good. In fact, I, we arrived a little bit well later than I had hoped we'd arrive, but I caught the last couple songs of Loverboy. I wanted to get there earlier, but I was one of those things. I was with people and they were taking their sweet time to get to the venue, and it was just sort of like nothing I could do about it. But even Loverboy sounded great. I mean, the I
I was
walked
going to
into
ask,
walked into the venue, they sounded great. Yeah, I heard
yeah,
Turn Me Loose and a couple other songs, and it was really the sound was fantastic. And people were into it. I mean, people were really into the into their set. So that was a
yeah.
good. I remember when they
I
announced it, I was like, huh. And then I was, kind of in there and watching it and going, yeah, this is the right. Like Sammy hit the right note with this guy's too, picked the right ones because they were very
I
well
would
received.
I was really hoping that they would do some sort of Atlantic Canadian gig or at least play somewhere in Maine, but it just didn't happen. But it's funny, I happened to see Loverboy like 2 years ago, and they sounded fantastic. But I mean, as a super geeky fan, when Loverboy were first announced as an opener, I was thinking, well, if Sammy's really digging into his back catalog, he should do Remember the Heroes
Right, remember the heroes, right?
and bring Reno up on stage. I mean, yeah, okay, it's a deep cut, but still, this is what better chance are you going to have?
Yeah, they could have. I mean, that could have been something to for fun to do, like maybe the last night of the tour or something like that. Yeah, a couple of other people had mentioned that too, but they were. I just there were a lot of people at the show. I don't know what I could probably go back and see what it's called, the Walmart Amphitheater, figure out what the capacity was, but it was pretty, there was seating and then there's a lawn in the back and it was pretty full. It was a very, very good turnout. And to me, I totally understand why Sammy has said that he's not going to tour. I mean, unless he's changed his mind. I know they're going to the UK, but like he's basically said like, yeah, I'm not doing sheds anymore. I'm not going. Yeah, like exactly that night. Like I'm not in 90-degree heat at at 9 o'clock at night with like 80% humidity. I'm not doing shows like that anymore. Um, Disappointing. I mean, because it's not for my lifestyle. It's not going to be easy to get to Vegas and
Yeah,
spend.
it's but you also, I mean,
But I totally understand.
he's 78 now,
100%.
and
I get it.
he's still he can still do it, whereas guys that are 15 years younger than him really can't and
Right.
really
And I
shouldn't.
right. I
But
totally get it. They should be able, they should guys at their age and they should be able to like say, you know what, come to us. I'm walking, I'm taking the elevator down, I'm walking on the stage, doing my thing,
oh
having
yeah,
a
I
nice
mean,
dinner and going to
if
bed.
if the Star Trek, transporters ever, these guys could
Right.
literally do it forever because it's not the 2 hours on stage, it's everything else. It's the
Right.
shuffling
Right.
around,
Right.
it's the travel, it's road food,
Right.
it's whatever, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess it was kind of inevitable that a live album would come out. I do hope we get some sort of whatever he wants to call it, Sammy Hagar, and then whatever. I do hope we get some studio recordings from these guys because obviously they play very well together. We already know that Sam and Joe can write together, that Joe can write music and Sam can put lyrics to it,
Right.
they don't have to call it Chicken Foot, and they probably won't where it's not Chad, even though I mean, to me, if you've got Sammy and Mike and Joe in the front line, they've already toured as Chicken Foot with Kenny. I don't see where, because obviously, as long as the Chili Peppers are touring, that's always going to be the bigger payday for Chad Smith. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's just how
Right.
it is. So it's kind of a freak thing that had happened in the first place, right? And we got those two
Right.
Chicken Foot albums, the first of which actually went gold. I remember being so excited when I found that out because, like we said, new albums by these
Yeah.
heritage acts do not sell. So
Yeah.
when they
There's
actually
some
had a
good stuff,
gold
Soap
record,
on
I
Oak
thought that
down the
was
drain. There was some good stuff on that. And
it was its own thing too, and it didn't sound like Van Halen, even though it had Sammy and Mike. It didn't sound like Joe, and it certainly didn't sound like the Chili
right.
Peppers. It was its own
Right.
thing, and I was really disappointed when that didn't continue. But anyway, for now, we've got this to sit back and if you turn this a certain way, it is kind of interesting the little logo he's come up with that's kind of got the V shape to it. Of course, this is not going to work for me, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But so anything else that comes to mind about the album and the
Yeah.
tour in general?
I was going to say that. give a shout out to Chris Lord Alge for the mix on this thing. I mean, he's like
Oh yeah,
the mix god. I mean, I know people don't know who he is. They should know who he is. All the Green Day records. I mean, you can go through like it's
yep.
like the list is like
Oh
staggering.
yeah,
But
his
he is
resume.
the best. I mean, he's exactly the right guy to get to mix something. I mean,
Yeah.
there are plenty of guys, but like if you want something to sound modern and actually be able to like just pop out of the speakers, he's like the best of the best. So I'm glad. I'm sure he's not cheap. I'm glad Sammy spent the money to have him mix it because yeah, it's not like some kid in his basement mixing it. Like he's like
Oh,
you're going to the like the absolute elite
this is
of
a
the
big it's
guys.
a big league sounding,
Yeah,
very
and it
full
sounds
live
great. It
recording.
sounds great.
Yeah.
I guess my point is like it was. I'm glad he invested the money to get that type of person to mix it because it sounds really great.
Yeah, it would have been a shame if it was a great show or a great, collection of songs from that series of shows and it sounds like a bootleg.
Yeah, right. It just, or and again, like or it sounds just like fatiguing on the ears, like just overcompressed, and like Chris he's just right on with his mixes all the time. So, no, I think it's interesting too. I looking at the thank yous here, he thanks I assume the management person at the Cabo Wabo Cantina. There's like it's interesting. He's like, Live Nation. Yeah, thank Live Nation. They get you across the country, and
That's right. Yeah.
it's
That's another thing. I was surprised that Cabo Wabbo's not on here.
yeah. Gosh,
Or was that a song they even did on this tour? I know they were doing "Can't Stop Loving You" at the beginning of the tour because he made a big deal about it.
right.
But maybe like you said, it got a little bit less Van Halen centric.
Yeah, I don't
Still,
re
there's still a lot of Van Halen on here. No question about that. But there
Yeah,
is a
and I
lot
think
of
it's I
Sammy
mean, I
solo
think
stuff.
like it's again, there's like, you get rock candy, you get heavy metal, you get uh the one way to rock, you get sort of the Hagar catalog mantra stuff that you'd want to hear
Yeah,
too. So it's really difficult to
I
I mean,
do like that's another thing you brought up the one way to rock. I do like the fact that he and Joe did they recreated the arrangement, that
right,
twin lead arrangement that he and Eddie put together from the
right,
5150 tour on because that's not the Standing Hampton version. That twin lead bit that was entirely that's that version practically makes it a Van Halen song.
right. Yeah, and I think the other thing I would sort of say, and as I assume we're going to wrap, is just go if you have the opportunity to see this tour next year, either in the UK. I'm sure people in the UK are absolutely thrilled. I mean, because Van Halen is notorious for having given the UK short shrift and not performed there like they should have over the years. And I'm
Yeah,
sure people are going to be ecstatic to see that. And go see them in Vegas. I mean, again, like if I can end up there and figure a way to go, just a matter of getting me physically there and being able to spend the time to go to a show. It's just it'll be a great show and well worth whatever the money it is. I mean, it'll be worth it. You'll have a great time, and the 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 emotional reaction I had to it. I mean, it made me very emotional. Just especially, kind of like having to sort of for the first time really confront the fact that Eddie is gone in a situation with a concert. Like I'd been to like whatever tribute. I've been to a couple of things here in Tulsa that were Van Halen tributes or whatever. But to have like those guys on stage and they didn't like overdo the Van Halen. They did not overdo the Eddie Van Halen like tribute. There was no like talk of him. They were not like all the there really was very little actually. Than Mike said, this one's for you, Ed. That was like the only
yeah.
oh, spoken mention of Eddie, but it was still a very just kind of recognizing that era of Van Halen is in the past. It's gone and
And
it's
they're
not coming back.
basically Sammy and Mike. Well, I mean, I know Dave's touring, but Sammy and Mike have always been the only people interested in keeping that era
Yeah,
alive. Alex didn't even write about it in his book. So,
I mean
that's kind
it's
of a
like
that's
there's so
the only
much.
the
There's
only
so much always to talk about. It's just like you
yeah,
just going
yeah.
talk about that for another half an hour. I just
The only thing I
yeah.
wish Sammy would quit doing is he always has to say the year when a song starts off. If you're going to do that,
1986,
make
right?
sure you've got the right year. Don't go into pound cake and say 1992. I don't understand why he has to do that. But oh well, I love the guy. But Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's all with the Van Halen, anything to do with Van Halen, there's so much to talk about. That's why I thought we'd keep it real simple and just kind of
Yeah, no,
at
I enjoy
least
it.
have
Yeah.
this as a, you know. But I mean, look, what I do also think is interesting about this is no red on this except for his microphone.
Huh.
It's really kind of, but
Is
anyway.
there is as long as we're gonna dive deep into the details, is there any branding of his beverages inside? If you open it up, do they have
Um, so this pictures them on and off stage.
Santos? Is there a Santos, any Santos in there?
Let me see. I'm not seeing it in the pictures. Let me look at the booklet here. Um, I don't think so.
Wow. I'm gonna call Sammy and
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
you missed opportunity.
Yeah, just I'm surprised that there
Yeah,
isn't just a logo on there. And really, I mean, even the front cover image, I mean, Mark Weiss. I
right.
mean, how much more classic
Yeah,
photography?
that's great. Let me
Him or
give
him
Mark,
or him or Zlaz.
give him the
How
mic,
you?
give my, yeah, Laws doesn't, from what I understand, Laws doesn't take any pictures anymore. So, he sort of like moved to the next stage of with licensing or whatever or not. He doesn't like want to take pictures anymore, really. I have a friend that's a funny story we can uh that saw him on one of the cruises and he was like he's like, let's take a selfie, Laws. He's like, sure, like, and Laws was like, okay, and like goes up and my friend handed him the phone and was like, you take it, I'm bad with selfies, and Laws did it and he's like,
That's
ha, I got his
hilarious.
Laws. I'm gonna sell this on eBay for $10,000
Yeah,
my Laws picture. So
that's hilarious. Well,
he's
Greg, thank you so much
yeah.
for doing this. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, you get those two great books. What have you got going on now? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I've what have I have going on? I have a couple of book projects that I'm hoping to move to the finish line. There's been a couple of things that basically a couple things that didn't happen creatively, and that some was unfortunate. But I've got other things going, and I just appreciate people still being interested in the books. And yeah, I will continue to soldier on here, and love talking about Van Halen with you. I appreciate the time and the offer to talk.
All right, thanks a lot, and make sure to follow Greg on all the socials, especially Twitter. That's where he's is most active. He always posts some great content, and you know, he's the go-to guy on most things Van Halen, and the Van Halen family tree. So, and if you haven't checked his books out, please do yourself a favor and do so. So, Greg, thanks for doing this, and yeah, hope you've enjoyed this discussion about the latest Sammy Hagar live album, The Residency. Um, we'll see you later. Thanks for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions.